over here, folks. Now, I like bringing this up because a blacksmith was not doing what a lot of you probably thought they were doing here. I'd be willing to bet last time you watched a movie, played a video game, or saw a TV show with a blacksmith in it, he was either making a sword or shoeing a horse. Am I right?
Yes.
Do you know why that is?
Why?
Because that's all Hollywood knows about us. Hollywood don't know a whole lot, guys. Not about blacksmiths anyways. Because the blacksmith had no need to do either one of those items. We had no need to make weapons here. You know why? Because the soldiers that came here with Pedro Menendez on this expedition showed up armed to the teeth with some of the best weapons they could get out of Europe at the time. They weren't worried about what we could produce in here. As far as horseshoes go, guys, there were no horses in St. Augustine to begin with. But even later on when they arrived, they were walking on packed sand and dirt, just like what you guys have been walking on here today. There was no need to shoe a horse. It would have been a huge waste of time and material. Time and material that can be spent building homes, putting roofs over families' heads. They're all over here trying to start a new life. And now they brought all the tools they needed to get started, but we know what tools do after they've been used for a long period of time. They wear down, they break, they warp. Blades are going to become dull, or sometimes they just grow legs and they go missing. Am I right? Yeah. Well, not to worry if you have a blacksmith in your community. We can fire this forge up. We can fix the tools that you have. We can sharpen your dull blades. Or we can pull raw material out, and they brought everything they needed to do that as well. And we'll just make you a new tool outright. But once the homes are done getting built, do you think I was able to go to the beach and enjoy my time?
No.
No, our job was just getting started. Ignore him, guys. He's a horrible shot. You got to eat, right? Iron and steel, folks, anything made out of iron or steel back in those days, you had to come and get it from a blacksmith. It had to get made by hand, including some of the first kitchen appliances. Yeah. Thanks to the skill and ingenuity of us blacksmiths here in St. Augustine, 459 years ago, you would have had low, medium, and high heat at your fingertips. Yeah, that's what the knob on your stove would have looked like here 459 years ago. But this is an 8 to 10 minute presentation, y'all. I'm sorry to say that was not enough time to make you a samurai sword or a wine rack. Those kinds of items are going to take hours, days, and in some cases even months to make. I have to keep it small, simple, but still historically relevant. So one thing they found tons of here when they dug at all these archaeological dig sites were nails of all sizes. But one thing that was consistent across all of them is that they were square shaped. So that always begs the question, why were the nails square back then and not round like the ones we're used to seeing today? And it boiled down to efficiency and speed. That's all it was, folks. Square is the quickest and easiest shape that you can make by hand with a hammer. And thanks to that, they were able to get the roofs over their heads a whole lot quicker. Because when they first got here, they're camping out in tents up on that beach. You guys already see what our weather's doing. If that doesn't get to you, I promise you our bugs will. You want a permanent roof over your head if you're going to stay here for any amount of time. Now let's talk about some of the tools in here. Anybody want to take a guess at what the most important tool is in my shop?
Hammer. The hammer.
A lot of hammers out there. Who set the fire?
I did.
You're hired.
I got the job, guys.
She's got it, y'all, though. The fire, called the forge over here. This is the heart of our operation. There's no substitute for heat. If you can't get the metal hot enough to make it soft so that you can reshape it, there's really no point in us being in here. If I can't get that fire lit every morning, then I'm going to go somewhere else and be productive. But I won't get anything done without my friend the fire. That fuel that we're burning, however, a lot of folks walk by and think it's coal, but the Spanish weren't using coal back then because there is none here in Florida. It's just a giant sandbar. There's no iron here either. So they brought guys over called carboneros, guys who knew how to make charcoal for hundreds of years before. They brought them over and they used it to warm their homes, to cook food, and for forging. But guys, there's always one in every group. I don't mean to crush your hopes and dreams, but no, you are not going to be making a battle axe in your barbecue grill tonight. It won't work. Charcoal by itself doesn't get hot enough. It stops right around 600 or 700 degrees, and that is it. And that's only because it's consuming the oxygen around it. But in here, I have a large air pump called a bellows. That large fan I've been working in the back, forcing large quantity of oxygen straight into that fire. We can get this forge up to 2,500 degrees. That's hot enough to melt steel like butter, though, folks, just like that. We don't want to do that. If we melt steel in here, it drips down to the bottom of this forge, and it is gone, it is wasted. We don't have anything to contain that melted steel or to do foundry work. So we have to play it safe. To keep from melting that metal, we have to pay close attention to it. We don't use thermometers or anything fancy. We actually just use colors. Metal heats up, and while it does that, it will change colors periodically. You'll go from black to red, red to orange, orange to yellow, and then finally, the hottest of them all, yellow to white. But we want to stick with orange hot because at those temperatures, that steel moves around a lot like Play-Doh or clay. We can curl it, we can make it wave at you, hi guys. We can flatten it out, punch holes in it, twist it, shape it, do just about whatever we want to do. I can sit here and hit it. It's not going to break or go anywhere, y'all, because it is perfectly malleable. We're going to straighten it out here real quick and get ready to make something for you.
What happens if you pull it?
Back in the fire. It only takes a few. What's that?
What happens if you pull it while it's heating?
Oh, what?
What happens if you pull it while it's heating?
If I pull it while it's heating, oh, some sparks will fly. That's about it. Looks nice and orange, just how we like it. Let's set it on the anvil and get started working the first two sides of our nail, y'all. Quarter turn. Finishing up the other two sides. Now that we have a square, we're going back and forth on those two sides. Bring the hammer down at an angle. That's drawing it out to a nice sharp point. Nice and sharp on one end, but now we have to cut it to the length that we want. And in here, we use a cutting tool called a Hardy. Very simple, it's just an upside down chisel that I can insert into my anvil, just like so, and then we'll use that to cut notches into this nail to the length that we want it to be. Careful not to cut it off all the way though. And I'll show you why here in a minute. We're still not all the way done. We're still missing something on this nail, y'all. Something that's very important. What are we missing? The head. Just the headless nail of St. Augustine. Yeah, we can't get that out. Now to put a head on the nail, it's actually pretty simple. I always get laughed at when I tell folks because they don't believe me. But to put a head on the nail, all you got to do is hit the nail on the head. I told you. That's it, guys. It's really it. There's no... Well, we're not done yet. I'm just saying, it's not going to be some grand finale. What it really is, we just got to get it nice and hot where it's malleable so we can work on it. We're going to lock it into a tool nice and tight where it can't go anywhere, and then break it off where we notched it. That little stub left up, while it's still good and hot, we're going to crush it, squash that down into the head of our nail. Now, the best tool for that job is this post vise sitting over here. We like it because it sits up nice and high. But let me ask you guys something. Do you think that would have been around back then? It seems kind of advanced for the period that we're talking about, isn't it? But it just so happens screw-type post vices like that one right there actually go back to the late medieval period. So almost 100 years before our founder, Pedro Menendez, was even born, those were already common fixtures in blacksmith shops by then. And we know this because Pedro Menendez brought some over here himself. It was listed in the tool inventory that came off his ship. In Spanish as a Cordillo de Herrero, or a blacksmith's vice, is what they called them back then. So they definitely had them around. They were pretty handy. But let's get a head on this nail. Nice and orange hot, just how we like it. We'll lock it up in the vise right about here. Nice and tight. Break it off where we notched it. Take that hammer and hit the nail on the head. Just like that, guys. We have the head to our nail. But now, one last thing I'm going to show you, and it's the most dangerous thing that we work with in here. Working in a blacksmith shop doesn't come without its ironing. That was a good one.